Hi, welcome back to Hit or Glitch. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Tim.
Today's episode, we are going to review the Unearthed Arcana that was released January 12th, I believe. 3 new subclasses. The Spore Druid. The Brawler?
Brute.
I don't know why I keep...
Yes, the Circle of Spores, the Brute, and the School of Invention for the Wizard.
So...
Should we just start with the first one and work our way down?
Pretty much.
Or should we start with our least favorite and go to our favorite? Or vice versa?
Let's just start at the top and work.
Isn't that start the same thing? Obviously, you know where I stand.
You like the invention and hate the other one?
Well,
hate this one.
You said least to most.
Mm-hmm.
Not what you like to what you don't like.
Okay, so
Circle of Spores. This is an archetype for a druid. They have a few spells that they get. I guess they're alright spells. They've got Gentle Repose and Ray of Enfeeblement at 3rd. At 5th, they get Animate Dead and Gaseous Form. I don't like Gaseous Form. At 7th level, they get Blight and Confusion. And at 9th level, they get Cloud Kill and Contagion. The big deal is about this halo of spores that they get. It basically just lets them, as a reaction, deal damage to enemies when it's not their turn.
No. On your turn, you give up your reaction.
Oh, okay.
So it's just preventing you from using your reaction until your next turn in order to get this extra few points of poison damage on one person.
Yeah.
So it's poison damage.
Which a lot of things are immune to.
It's probably the easiest thing to get for enemies to have resistance to.
Yep.
Or immunity.
Yep.
And when it starts out at only 3 points, no roll, no die, just 3 points.
Yeah, 3 points at 2nd level is that's going to add up pretty quick. And you can just knock off some. If you're depends on your GM or how your GM's running things. But if they're running like Matthew Colville, where you have minions that are 1 damage kills, then you're just popping those guys off.
That's true.
That's true, and it does scale, but I don't think it scales well.
Yeah.
6 at 6th, 9 at 10th, and 12 at 14th.
My biggest problem with the subclass is it's a solution in search of a problem. To me, if you're an above ground person and Circle of Spores, the first thing I was like, oh, they're going to be able to transform into a Myconid or something. No. And then I was like, well, maybe it's for Myconids. Look at the abilities. They already get this.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is I don't know where it fits. When we were discussing it earlier, you mentioned it's basically the necrotic druid.
Yes.
And I can accept that a little bit. I guess that's at least gives them a place.
That after reading it, that was kind of the vibe I got from it.
Yeah.
And they'd be really good at fighting themselves because at 6th level they get a ability to reanimate a corpse, but they reanimate it with 1 HP, or humanoid corpse specifically. Reanimate it with 1 HP, and it can only make 1 attack, so it can't use
per
round. So it doesn't matter if it has double attack or whatever, it can only use 1 of them. But hey, if they were fighting themselves, they could just be like, oh, it's dead. So, they got that going for them. They counter themselves.
So if you're a Spore Druid and you end up fighting another Spore Druid, you got it in the bag.
Yep.
Using the Druid shape for something else to just get a flat bump in temporary hit points and then double your aura damage, your spore damage, is interesting as a means to use a class ability in a different way.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, it's only 3 temporary HP. Oh, per level.
You double the Halo Spores damage, and you get plus 1d6 poison damage with your melee weapon attacks.
So that's not
At what level do you get that?
Second.
So that's right off the bat.
Huh.
So basically you get kind of a rage, and it's increasing your damage output. And at that point, doubling those Halo Spores damage is actually pretty decent. So that's, putting you up to, what? 6, 12, 18, and 24 damage per turn.
Right.
Which that's getting significant.
Yeah.
And it's for 10 minutes. You got it twice per day until you eventually get Infinite Wild Shape, where at that point you have it on all the time at level 18. You're just sitting there, 24 damage.
No.
Is it 20th level you get Infinite?
Other subclass of Druid.
Oh, it's the Circle of the Moon.
That you get the Infinite.
Never mind. That'd be nice.
And another thing to note, you were talking about the 6th level ability where you can create a fungal corpse, basically.
Yeah.
In order to do that, it must be something you killed with your Halo of Spores ability.
Okay, never mind. That's useless.
Yes. If you slay a humanoid with your Halo of Spores damage,
talking about it, but
the creature rises as a zombie.
And you get that at 6th level.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's basically it.
But, it doesn't take an action or anything to create the thing. It just has to be something you killed with your Halo of Spores.
And your wizard gets raised dead at level 5.
Which is infinitely better.
Yeah, because that doesn't go away.
Yeah. It doesn't have 1 HP.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
No. I think I'd take a pass on this one. I wouldn't play it.
I don't know.
Without some changes.
Unless you have a very niche concept for your character,
Yeah.
I would pass on this.
Yeah, and I don't even know. Yeah.
You can probably, whatever your niche is, you could probably do it better with something else.
This is true.
Yeah.
All right.
Next archetype, we've got the Brute. This is a warrior archetype. It's all about kind of like, in some ways, being somewhat barbarian-like. Basically, it starts off with that 3rd level. Whenever you do a weapon attack, you add on an extra damage die. Then it actually scales up. So it starts out at a D4 at 3rd. At 10th, it goes to a D6. At 16th, it's a D8. And at 20th, it's a D10. So you have to go all the way to 20 to really get this up there. But, with a fighter, you're going to be attacking 5 turns or times around every time you take an attack action. And you've got Action Surge for another 5 attacks at that point. So that's going to add up a lot.
And then you double those dice if you crit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's... When I first read this subclass, I was like, why don't they just do a flat bonus to damage? But that's exactly why, is the crit. Because there's stuff later on.
They get devastating critical at level 15.
Well, let's go in order. At 7th level, you get Brutish Durability, which allows you to shrug off. Basically, you get a die 6 added to any saving throw. And if it's a death saving throw that you're using and that D6 raises you to 20 or above, you get the effects of rolling a natural 20.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, that class feature right there, that class feature I think is worth the class
level investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really solid ability to throw in there.
My favorite...
Because that basically means a 14 to 20, you come back at 1 HP.
Potentially.
My favorite...
Because you could be rolling lower on the D6. Yeah.
My favorite ability is next at 10th level, you get an additional fighting style. I think that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, the champion fighter is it that gets another fighting style as well?
Champion's the only other one.
Theirs is earlier though, isn't it?
No, I believe it's 10th level.
It's also 10th level? Okay. But either way, double fighting styles is good. It's a lot of fun. I've played it... Whenever I play a fighter, pretty much I've played a champion fighter, and that's always good.
Right.
That's one of the fun things about doing a fighter ranger multi-class, is you get that fighting style.
Yeah.
Or paladin.
Yeah.
Yes, 10th level additional fighting style.
Okay.
Then at 15 is when you get the devastating critical, where when you make a crit with your weapon attack, you get bonus to the weapon's damage roll equal to your level in this class.
Yeah.
So right off the bat is a minimum of plus 15.
So yeah, you're basically barbarianing it up with your crits.
This is the big dumb fighter.
Yes.
Which is arguably better than the champion's superior critical that increases their threat range to 18 to 20.
don't know. I'm not sure I agree with that one.
You don't think so?
Having a plus 10% chance of getting a crit.
Plus 5%. You already have the 5%.
It's 18 to 20.
Oh, 18 to 20.
So plus 10% on a regular die. If you have advantage, that's something like I did the math on this. It was 9.5 if you had the 19 to 20. Or sorry, okay. It's 9.5% if you don't have any bonus to your crit range. Just by having advantage. If you have advantage, I think that's pushing it up to like 15%. And then if you the 18 to 20, you're basically rocking almost a 20% chance, or a little over a 20% chance to get a crit.
Yeah, but
which is nuts.
If you're using a D12 weapon, that's only an extra D12 of damage that you're adding in. Whereas that you're adding 15.
Right.
Plus the extra weapon die, plus the extra die for your brutish damage.
Yeah. Really what this this class is really begging to find some way to throw in an increased crit range somehow. Because if they can throw in increased crit range with this for only like a level or 2 dip, then...
And then finally at 18th level, you gain Survivor. At the start of each of your turns in combat, you regain hit points equal to 5 plus your con modifier, minimum of 1. You don't gain the benefit if you're at 0, and you don't gain the benefit if you're above half.
Yeah.
But if you're between 1 and whatever half is, you're going to heal 5 plus.
And that's a pretty decent range.
Which is the exact same thing that Champion gets.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a pretty big range for somebody who's going to be, having a D10 hit die. They're going to have a lot of HP. And they don't need a secondary attribute after Strength or Dex, whichever their primary is going to be. So, yeah, I mean, they're probably going to have a decent amount of HP, especially if they're playing the big dumb fighter. So, I mean, it's solid. I think it would be a fun class to play. And you're definitely, have that big, huge moment whenever you get a crit of, oh my god!
Yeah.
It's gonna die!
Yeah, this class is probably the biggest, other than maybe Paladin, where when you get a crit, you just dump your smites in it and you can double all those dice.
Yeah.
This one really cares about the crit.
The half-orc barbarian, where you're rolling 5 or something, 6 weapon damage on a crit.
You can always be a half-orc brute if you really want to go, with stereotype rolls.
Yeah.
Yep. So you get that extra die again.
I don't know. It looks like it could be fun. It's obviously all about the hitting, but I don't know that it was an archetype or a subclass that was necessary.
No.
It's allowing the fighter with the action surge to fill the role of a barbarian, basically.
Yep. And there's already a barbarian.
Yeah.
That's my take on...
So actually, that might be a good class to combine with Monk.
Yeah.
If you were looking for some of those abilities of the barbarian to flavor your Monk build, that might be the subclass to throw in.
Yep. And if you want to hear our thoughts on the barbarian monk, go back and watch our was it Under the Hood?
Yep.
Yeah. On multi-classing.
Yep.
And then lastly, we have an
gives you increased threat range.
Yeah. I couldn't remember if the board did or not.
We have the Arcane Tradition for Wizards, the School of Invention. Now we're going to go through this as is, and we kind of talked about this earlier in the day. And then we're going to give you our rebuild of the archetype subclass. And, I think... So the School of Invention, basically, these are the guys taking credit for creating all the other schools of magic. So they're kind of... We invented everything. Yep. They're the
ones who classified the 8 schools.
But when you get this at second level... First, you get Tools of the Inventor, which gives you proficiency with 2 tools of your choice, which is pretty awesome. Tool proficiencies aren't handed out as often as other things. They can come in really handy. They're great for flavoring your character.
Yeah.
Personally, I like that. the one I wasn't too keen on, the arachnomechanical armor. You gain proficiency in light armor, and you gain a suit of magic armor.
Yeah.
Not going to try to pronounce that again and again.
Basically, it is a suit of studded leather. It's 12 AC 12 plus your dex modifier weighs 8 pounds. But while you're attuned to it, and you're the only one that can attune to it, you gain resistance to force damage.
You're taking resistance to one type of damage that hardly ever comes up.
Should you lose your armor?
Blast and magic missile.
Yep.
And I think Thunderwave.
No, that's thunder damage.
No, never mind.
I think there's one pillar of fire or something that's half fire, half force. But
You have to have resistance to both.
yeah. Anyway, if you lose your armor or your, halfling companion is playing a trick on you and you can't find it, at the end of a long rest, you can always just take a bit of time. I believe... Actually, you just touch a non-magical suit of studded leather and you turn it into your new magic armor, negating the bonuses on the old one, making it a suit of studded leather.
I have a bad feeling this made its way in because of Iron Man.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. It's a way to infinite money. You sell your armor
As a magic item.
Get your new set of armor.
So if you want the charlatan background for your wizard...
There we go. Perfect.
You give them a great deal.
Step 4, profit.
Let's see, studded leather's 45, I think.
Yes.
Normal?
So you're going to be a gnome with the charlatan background. Oh. You also get reckless casting at 2nd level, which is fun. Seems fun. What you do is you can cast a spell that you may or may not have prepared. What you do is you use your action and you make one of the following 2 choices. You either roll once on the cantrip table, which it's a D10 roll, and cast that cantrip. Or you expend a spell slot and roll twice on the...
No, it's just once. You roll once on one of the tables, depending on what the level of spell slot is.
Nope.
No?
That you're looking at the cantrip one. The second dot, expend a spell slot and roll twice on the reckless casting table for its level. Or the 5th level table if the slot is 6th level or higher.
Gotcha.
Pick which of the 2 results you want to use and cast the resulting spell as part of the action.
All right.
If the spell you cast isn't a wizard spell, it is nonetheless a wizard spell for you when you cast it with this feature.
But there's a limit. There's only 9 different spells on each list.
Yes, and then the number 10 is roll twice, cast each of those spells. But if you roll another 10 as one of those 2, then you cast nothing and you waste the spell slot in action. So that's kind of neat. Gives you a little bit of variety.
Not the spell slot.
Not.
Yeah, you cast nothing, wasting your action,
but not the spell slot. Okay.
Yeah.
It can add some fun. It could add... You could either totally waste your turn or pull off a really clutch move, depending on how the dice gods are liking you at that moment.
Well, depending on what your order of actions is, you get to choose which of the 2 dice you roll. So if you roll a 10, do you then roll the 2 dice? If one of those is a 10, okay, well, I'm not going to use that choice. I'm going to use the original choice. Or do you roll the 10, say, I would like to keep the 10, and now I'll roll my 2 dice to see what other 2 spells I cast?
No, you roll your 2 dice. If you're casting a 4th level spell, you roll twice.
Yeah.
If one's a 3 and one's a 10, you can choose to cast the 3 and not the 10, or you can choose to roll twice.
Okay.
And if one of those comes up a 10.
Yeah,
and
so
cast both
you're
of the
taking a
ones.
chance on that.
So,
I guess.
So you can pull off a really clutch move, or you can completely waste your turn, or anywhere in between.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like a little bit of randomness. It's a way to be a wild sorcerer as a wizard.
Yep.
That's a way to look at it, yeah.
At 6th level, you gain an alchemical casting. So you're basically channeling your spell through your armor is how it's flavored, but really all you're doing is using an extra spell slot. If you either first or second, if you use a first, you can change the damage type. So I can cast Fireball, expend an additional first level spell,
make it a lightning ball
or a thunder ball, whatever, you know.
Yep. Oh, that sounds cool.
Or you can work with your GM and design the spell and reflavor it.
Yeah. And
at second level, if you use a second level one, then one of the people hit by your spell is going to take an additional 2d10 force damage.
Whoa, that's not bad, but...
Big bad surrounded by minions. I'm going to fireball
6?
them.
Is that when that comes in?
Yeah.
Yes. And then I'm going to spend an extra second level spell slot and do an extra 2d10 to the big bad.
So essentially you're spending a spell slot to get a cantrip effect.
An additional.
Because Eldritch Blast at that level is 2 blasts at 1d10 each.
Yes.
But you're throwing it in extra on top, so it is increasing your damage per round a bit at the cost of burning through your spells like a madman.
Yeah.
And you can use it on a spell where they have to make a save, and you don't got to worry about hitting their impossibly high AC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 10th level, you gain Prodigious Inspiration. You've attained a greater mastery of spell preparation. As a bonus action, you can replace one spell you prepared with an other spell from your spell book. You can't use this ability again until you finish a short or long rest. And then finally, at 14th level, you get Controlled Chaos. Your ability to improvise magic grows stronger whenever you roll on a reckless casting table for a spell other than a cantrip. You can roll on the table that is one level higher.
So yeah, you basically now can spend a second level spell slot to cast 0 to 3 or 0 to 2 level 3 spells.
Right.
So I mean,
which is why you have the extra spell slots to spend on the extra force damage.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess.
I like the concept of this subclass. I don't think it was executed well.
No, not at all.
If this is supposed to be we invented spells, why the heck do they have that armor? That makes...
It says flavor-wise, it's there to protect them from the counter or the effects of their spells.
For when their spells go bad so they don't blow themselves up. That's why they have the resistance to force damage. And
really?
And to a degree that makes sense, but I think you're right. I think it's a way of shoehorning things like Iron Man into the game.
Yeah.
But it's not even iron, it's leather.
Yeah,
it's magical leather.
Man.
Leather man. Well, I guess it's studded leather, so there could be a little bit of iron in it.
All right, now we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
And
the 10th level ability as written should be a version of that. That's the basis of the class.
Well, let's go ahead and dive into that.
Yeah.
How would we have executed this?
Ours. The one thing I think that should be kept is the tools.
Yes.
They're in, tool sets, whether, because you can still choose calligrapher's tools. Navigator's tools because you're studying astronomy.
Yeah.
It can be whatever,
Yeah.
They could have been, they're obviously the inventors of magic items as well, so that includes the smith tools and potions, brewer's tools. You can justify any of those, and I think it's a neat flavoring of this subclass. However, rather than the armor and reckless casting, we're going to scrap those. Sorry, wizards. Dan, this was mainly your idea, so you want to...
Yeah, I said, what they should be able to do is cast any spell on the wizard list. And basically what I think is they're able to make an Arcana check. DC equal to 10 plus the level of the spell. And if they succeed, they can cast that spell.
Provided it's a spell they have a slot for.
Yes, you have to have the slot.
Question on that. What if they don't have it in their spellbook yet?
They don't have a spellbook.
So they wouldn't have it. Would they?
Well, they do.
Okay. They have a spellbook of spells they've mastered.
And prepared.
But that doesn't matter because you're inventing the spell.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
They do have a spellbook, and that's where they have their prepared spells.
Yes.
And then this feature that you're talking about is they can cast any spell if they make the roll, and that doesn't have to be prepared.
Not only doesn't have to be prepared, but they don't even have to have bought the spell and have it in their book at all.
Right.
Okay.
Because they're basically
Coming up with it on the spot.
Yeah.
And how many times can they do this?
Limited to their intelligence modifier per day.
No.
Per long rest.
Long rest.
16 intelligence wizard at second level is going to be able to use it 3 times a day.
And there'll be... So if it's a first level spell or second level spell, so first level spell they'd have to roll, let's see, they're getting a +4 at that point? 5?
5.
So they'd have to roll an 8 or better. Which isn't impossible at all, but I mean for that clutch moment when you gotta have spell X, Y, or Z.
Yep.
And it allows, I think that's really good for certain games where, especially longer runs between rests.
Well, second level, second level spell you get at third level.
Okay.
You're going to have a +2 proficiency, and if we're going with the 16, say from the base stat array, say no bonuses, that's a 5.
Yeah.
So if you need a 12, to get
7.
You need a 7 or better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the next feature?
So let's see.
So
Do we keep the 6th level alchemical casting thing?
No.
No.
Because that's reliant on the armor.
Not really.
Not really. It's expending an extra spell slot.
Yeah.
We talked about doing something else, though.
No, that's later on. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm okay with being able to manipulate it.
Yeah, and I do like the idea of being able, like, that seems... Conceptually, I like the idea of being able to change the damage type, add more damage in where they need it, that kind of thing, because that is manipulating the spell while you're casting it, and maybe even coming up with it in the first place. But...
Is 6th level too low to be able to ignore some, or like say that you can ignore the material components of a spell?
Well, I mean, you can be doing that at level 1. You got a staff or a wand or whatever, and you're already...
Well, no, but you would still have to have the staff in that case.
Right.
Like what I'm saying is level 6.
Where you become your own arcane focus?
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought.
Like you're in tune so much with the weave, you're so used to working with the weave that part of the weave is now in you.
I don't know if I would put that at 6th level. That might be one of the higher ones. But I don't know what we would do instead at 6th level.
What about...
I mean, one of these has got to be weak anyway, so we can leave it.
Well, I mean, we can either leave it or going off of that rather than eschewing the components, because you're probably already going to have a focus if you're an inventor like this rather than the components. You can use your bonus action to negate any somatic or verbal components to the spell.
Yeah.
Which would allow you to use your bonus action to cast that somatic spell you really needed to get out of the bind the bad guys have you tied up in.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun to be able to...
But it's using your bonus action to do so.
Yeah. They
use your bonus action, you can ignore the verbal or somatic components of a spell.
But not the material.
You're probably already going to have a focus.
Well, in that case...
Well, if they have you tied up, they're going to take your focus.
Yeah.
Depending. If it's, an amulet, they may not.
See, I like the idea of having them still required to use verbal and somatic, because in a sort of an inventor spitball-y kind of way, you're chit-chatting with somebody, or you're thinking out loud, or you're basically the way that I envision it is, in this case, if they are the material component, if they are their own arcane focus, they become so infused with the weave that they actually see the weave.
I could see that. I would limit it to like an arcane focus, so only that certain point, and more expensive ones you'd still have to have the material components for.
Yeah,
Right.
if there's a gold cost.
So you become an arcane focus.
Yeah.
I can buy that.
Yeah.
10th level.
I guess that's not really that broken, because they're not getting any, just because they don't have to have it in their hands anymore doesn't mean they're going to be getting anything better to do with their hands.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not giving them any kind of ability
Weapon proficiency or anything.
Shield proficiency or, weapon proficiency. So, yeah, it's fine.
At 10th level, this is where things get interesting. Because they invent spells, and it's already established with non-wizard spells in the reckless casting tables, we decided that when they're using their ability to, on the fly, cast a spell with an Arcana check, that it can be any spell from any spell list at that point. So those 3 to 5 uses for the average wizard, it's going to be any spell.
Yeah. At 10th level, you can cast from any spells.
You need that Revivify? Make an Arcana check.
If your cleric goes down and you got to Revivify them, you can make the Arcana check. Now you can do it.
Better make a good roll. Well, I mean...
Well, luckily Revivify is only one.
If they're failing this... by the way, if they're failing this check, are they keeping the spell slot or is they burning it?
Yes, they are spending the spell slot.
No matter what?
No matter what. You're spending the action, you're spending the spell slot.
Because you are expending the energy to create the spell.
Okay, so
just because it doesn't go off.
Does the DC go up because it's a non-wizard spell?
Well, this is a 10th level feature. I think not.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think it does.
And then Controlled Chaos at 14th level. So
we're going to have to come up with something new for that because it's... we don't even have that chart anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe at this level, do the, we want to be changing the damage type or whatever. Maybe just let them change the damage type. Or do that bonus... Or wait, we're doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
so bonus action, you can change the damage type. Maybe if you expend the spell slot, you can increase damage kind of thing. Because, I mean, at 14th level, they're going to have a lot of spell slots.
Or ignore resistance.
Nah, I think it'd be better to be able to be casting your lightning ball and your... whatever, you just have complete control over what element your spells are doing. But
well, I mean that's
ignoring resistance
basically the elemental affinity feat.
Yeah.
Elemental affinity. So you change one damage type, or
no? You choose a damage type. You do extra damage with that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this one you're completely
changing.
Yeah, you can just.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna cast a fireball at these fire elementals. What? That's stupid. Oh, is it? It's a lightning ball or a thunder ball.
But is that mechanically different than saying, I'm going to ignore their resistance?
No. Mechanically,
yes,
no.
It is, because...
Well, yes, because you can be changing it to
a vulnerable type.
A vulnerable type. So I think it's stronger.
Yeah.
So wait, what was the one that they already had down that was the switch? Was it a bonus action?
It was a first level spell slot, but this was their 6th level ability.
And so now at our 14th, we're going to give them the same thing?
We're going to give them something. Yeah, well, no, we're going to give them the same thing, but it doesn't require a bonus, or it doesn't require a spell slot for it.
Oh, okay.
So it's a bonus action.
Okay.
And
then what are we doing for their final ability?
I don't know. I would either allow them to ignore resistances, or if we're going to allow them to change it, make it a random, because you're still toying with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's...
I would say overcome resistance. So, I mean, you're still not affecting something that's immune.
Yeah.
But you're overcoming resistance. And then you can't exploit the vulnerabilities.
So change damage type, roll a die, and do we want to make a list of what damage types it can randomly...
Well, I mean, there's 8 base damage types.
Fire,
cold, thunder, lightning... Psychic, Force, necrotic, and Radiant. Which is 8. So roll a d8, and it becomes that type.
I'm casting Fireball, but I'm going to switch its element. It's fire still. Ha!
Do we want to make it so that it can't come out the same damage type as it was?
No, that's called trial and error.
If I change this...
Brutal.
I'm just saying.
You're not wrong.
When I do it this way, it just stays the same.
I change this bit of the weave and...
Nothing changed. Apparently that part of the weave isn't involved in this spell, really.
Oh, crap. That guy just died. Oh, man. Do you think that was because I tweaked this one?
It's not like you tweaked
And actually,
the wrong...
and having a bit of randomness, because so far we've taken out some of the randomness that they built in the early part of this build, and now we put that back in. I think
like
that's
the randomness. All right. So bonus action, they can change the damage type, and then what were we going to do for ignoring resistances? Or were we going to include that at all?
No, it's either change the type or resistance.
Okay.
Or overcome resistance.
Yeah. Changing the type's better.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think? How would do you like these the way they are presented in Unearthed Arcana? Do you like some of the changes we suggested? Do you have your own changes? Let us know down below.
See it.